Let us move to phonetics. When we look at phonetics, for these reasons, to promote mutual intelligibility, we need to study phonetics, because languageness, that is where I want to introduce a very functional definition of phonetics. Right? So when you look at phonetics functionally, this is what we realize. Functionally, it deals with the languageness, where voice quality, voice modulation, certain important aspects of rhythm, and all these things contribute to languageness and the sounds of a language. So phonetics functionally deals with the languageness, the sounds of a language. Dear friends, why do we need to teach phonetics at all at this juncture? See, we don't teach phonetics as a technical subject to the students. So there is, you take any topic or concept, there'll be two versions. One, the learner's version. Two, the teacher's version. The teacher's version is called expert's version, and the learner's version is called user's version. So every time when we talk about phonetics, we need to remember these two different versions. One, experts version, the phonetics for teachers. Two, the phonetics for learners, where we need not to talk about all the technicalities and technical terms. We have to teach certain aspects that are very, very crucial for mutual intelligibility in a very, very practical manner. We need not to get into the details or the nuances of that particular concept. So here I'm attention to the experts version of phonetics. However, in tomorrow's, my tomorrow's session will reflect upon converting this experts version into the user's version or the learner's version. That is, that convergence is very, very crucial while we teach any concept, any technical concept. So dear friends, this is where, most of the times when people start teaching or learning phonetics, they don't realize these two versions. So whatever they learn as teachers, the technical version, they try to present the same technical version or academic version or too scientific to the students. Then the whole purpose of teaching the particular aspect gets defeated. So we need to understand here this important criteria or criterion in teaching languages. So today we are reflecting upon the expert's version or the teacher's version of phonetics. So otherwise, phonetics for teachers. I have mentioned two things: phonetics for teaching and learning. So teaching and learning. So we are looking at teachers' phonetics today. As a teacher, if you don't get your facts and figures, the ideas and insights very clear, it's very difficult to convert those scientific and technical concepts into practicalities in the classroom. So that's where I encourage you all to have an expert's understanding of phonetics. So why do we need phonetics at all? What are the tasks and targets for teachers? Of course, our tasks and targets are towards intelligibility of English, if you take up the English language education in Andhra Pradesh. So there are three important needs or tasks and targets when we look at the English language in terms of mutual intelligibility. While teaching listening and speaking, we need to identify the needs of the learners. What are the problems? What are the problems they have? What are the problems they have in terms of languageness and pronunciation? Some students may be using ra very, very overtly. Instead of saying burn, they may say burn, turn. So, as a teacher, unless and otherwise you have a thorough understanding of the teacher's version or the expert's version of phonetics, it is very difficult to identify such problems of the learners and design tasks. It's identifying needs is more or less like diagnosing the problems of the learners in terms of speaking and listening. And after understanding the learner's problems, you have to come up with tasks. AP teachers are, I had a very wonderful experience when they were developing know-how modules. They're quite skilled when they started thinking along those lines, along the lines of identifying needs, and immediately they could reflect upon the solutions for the problems of the learners. So how to design tasks? Day and night, they used to discuss and come up with nice tasks, effective tasks that really help the learners to come out of the pronunciation problems or the listening problems they face. And once you understand the needs of the learners, the problems of the learners, once you design the task to help the learners to come out of those problems, your training with regard to speaking and listening will take a very fruitful and productive path. So for this purpose, we need to understand the technical or the expert's version of phonetics. Dear friends, hope you understood the purpose behind having a very, very sound knowledge of phonetics from an expert's point of view. Right, let us move further. I think one more teacher is going to reflect upon certain important aspects, but this morning I would like to draw your attention on segmentals. When I say in the previous on the previous slide, the functional definition, languageness, where rhythm, intonation, and prominence, voice quality, these are very, very crucial. And it talks about languageness refers to those things. And the sounds of the language, when we talk about the sounds of a language, we are talking about segmentals. So we have suprasegmentals like pitch, stress, duration, and voice quality or quality. And on the other hand, we have the segmental issues with regard to the English language. Let us look at the speech apparatus, human speech apparatus. Dear friends, doing phonetics is nothing but mastering our speech apparatus. Our speech apparatus That is why I always encourage my students, my research scholars, not to be afraid of phonetics. Phonetics is nothing but understanding the human speech apparatus and also using the speech apparatus effectively while learning different languages. So if you take up human speech apparatus, from lips to the glottis, from the lips to the glottis, if you can see the diagram, you have lips, two lips, and down there you have a circular, circle kind of, not circle, in oval shape. That is the glottis, where we see the vocal folds. So from the lips to the glottis, we call it the speech apparatus. This speech apparatus is similar and the same in structure and anatomy across the human languages. You may have thousands of languages in the human culture and societies. Thousands of languages with different qualities, different qualities of language, or different aspects of languageness, different shades of languageness. But the speech apparatus is the same. It is something like this. If you take up a guitar, you may have smaller one and bigger one, but guitar is guitar across the cultures. So it is this human speech apparatus is similar and the same across the human languages. This is what we need to understand. We need not to worry about British variety or American variety or Spanish or Greek or Arabic, whatever it may be. It may be it a Romance language, be it a Semitic language, be it an Asian language. So whatever it may be, the speech apparatus is the same. The only thing is the small and the big speech organs. That is where it differs, but the same and similar speech apparatus. When we take up speech apparatus, human speech, there are 11 places of articulation across the human languages. Humans, in short, humans can use only the 11 places of articulation. There is no 12 place of articulation in the human history. So by research, the linguists and phoneticians and phonologists have arrived at these 11 places of articulation and say that these are the only 11 places of articulation humans use across human languages. And see, but there is no language, there is no single language that uses all the places of articulation, 11 places of articulation. So out of these 11 places of articulation, some use 6, some use 10, some use 8, but there is no single language in the world so far that uses all the 11 places of articulation. Dear friends, if you take up the English language, English speakers use 8 places of articulation. When you take up Arabs and the speakers of Semitic languages, they use 10 places of articulation. When we take up the Indian speakers of Indian languages, they use 9 places of articulation. So Indians use 9 places of articulation. Arabs use 10 places of articulation. English speakers use 8 places of articulation. So dear friends, this is what we need to understand here. When we are talking about languageness, these places of articulation are very, very important. You know, if we take up guitar, there are frets. You know, at different fret, you produce different sound quality. So 11 places are there. At 11 places, 11 different sound qualities can be produced. That's why we need to be very, very careful of the places of articulation when we teach a particular language. So British guys use only 8 places of articulation, but we use 9 places of articulation. We are in a more advantageous position when it comes to speaking and listening. And Arabs are really in more advantageous condition. However, how they use and perceive are totally different. For example, we will come to those 11 places of articulation. Let us come to, yeah, these are the 11 places of see, for example, if you take up 11 places, look at the list of 11 places of articulation. We have bilabials, pa, ba, but labiodentals, when we pronounce pa and ba, we use both the lips. We call pa, ba, and ma bilabials. And we have labiodentals like fa, va. In detail, we will look at those phonemes tomorrow. But I'm drawing your attention on certain aspects of accurate pronunciation and the pronunciation with proper languageness. Right? So bilabials, labiodentals, bilabials, two lips, labiodentals, the lower lip and upper front teeth, and dentals, the tip of the tongue and tip of the tongue and teeth, upper front teeth, alveolars, and you see alveolar ridge. And the tip or blade of the tongue and alveolar ridge. And similarly, post-alveolars, you know, the place behind the alveolar ridge is called post-alveolar. Retroflexions. Actually, Indian languages are very rich in retroflexions. So, la, gana gana, nya, nya is a nasal, not a retroflex. So ta, da, na, na, la. These are retroflexions, you know, Indian language, which are dominant in Indian languages, which are popular in Indian languages, if not dominant. So we have palatal region, where hard palate is involved, and velar region at the back of the tongue, and you have uvula. See, if you take up velar, uvula, I will demonstrate these three places by taking k. In Arabic, we have three, not only in Arabic, in Semitic languages, you have three different kinds of k. One is ka, the other one is ka, the other one is ka. So ka, 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 ka. Three regions, at three different regions, three different sounds. Prime is ka, but it sounds different when you change the place of articulation. When you make it palatal, okay, sorry. When you take up ka, it is palatal. When you take up, it is vela. When you take up Ka. It is uvula. So uvulas and pharyngeals, for example, if we take up Semitic ha. Ha is down there from glottis. But if you move slightly above, you will see the pharyngeal region. In the pharyngeal region, you will be able to produce ha, ha, ha. So, and glottis ha. So these are the 11 articulations human use across the human languages. Now, when it comes to the human speech apparatus in English, English has got 11 places of I will come to the 11 places of articulation once again, and then let us come to human speech apparatus. There is another important aspect called manners of articulation, which are very, very important. So you can produce some sound through nasal, you can produce the same sound through oral region, oral cavity, and orals, nasals, and all those things. Let us look at those manners of articulation. We have plosives, where you see a plosion kind of effect. You know, most of the Indian languages are rich in plosives. When you take up the English language, you know, plosives are just 6. But in Indian languages, we have nearly 20 plosives, 6 versus 20. So definitely plosives, and the frequency of plosives is very high in Indian languages. And then if the plosives are more, such languages sound like tapataka, chetapata, katapata, badagada, jeda, badagada, bad. You know, that is the effect when the languages which are rich with plosives are spoken. That is the effect. Nasals, you know, some languages are rich in nasals, and they you will see a lot of nasality in their speech, in their you know, with regard to that language. And trills, you know, there are some languages where some African languages use trills. So there are trills. Those trills are very, very dominant. And taps and flaps, similarly. Fricatives, English uses 9 fricatives. And then laterals, approximants. These are manners of articulation. We need to understand, when we have the experts' view of the manners of articulation and places of articulation, we will be able to understand the learner's problems in a very systematic manner. Where does my learner face the problem? Does he face the problem with a place of articulation or the manner of articulation? If my learner faces a particular problem with the manner of articulation, what kind of exercises I need to design and offer a kind of training? So this is what we need to understand. That is the reason why we need to do a bit of phonetics in an expert's way. Right now, let us come to English speech and places of articulation. English uses 8 places of articulation, as I mentioned, and these are the 8 places, the 8 places of articulation. And we can move forward. And then if you look at manners in English, we can see 6 manners of articulation. English has got plosives, English has got nasals, English has got taps, English has got fricatives, English has got laterals, English has got approximants. When you take up the classification of the sounds, in English we have 6 plosives. Nasals are just 3. There are 9 fricatives, 1 lateral, 2 affricates. Affricates are the combination of plosion and friction. That's why I haven't mentioned affrication or affricates here as a separate manner of articulation. So it's a combination of plosion and friction. So They have two affricates and one continuant, that is approximant. Continuant like ra. Approximants, we can say there are three approximants in English. So that is how we can look at the English language. But when it comes to Telugu, Telugu has got 20 plosives. In principle, we have 5 fricatives, but most of the times we could see only 3 fricatives. For example, if you take up, plosives, we have pa, pa, ba, ba, ta, ta, da, da, ta, ta, da, da, ka, ka, ga, ga. These are the plosives. And we have nearly 20, we have exactly 20 plosives. But when it comes to fricatives, sa, sh, ha, I think, we have sa, sa, sh, ha. I think we have, we have only 4 fricatives, but most of the times, sa and the sha, are, are in free variation. It means, we use one for the other. Still, we don't have any intelligibility issues. So practically and functionally, we have only 3 fricatives. In English, we have 6 fricatives. By this, we can understand nearly 66% extra of fricatives in English, right? So only 33% fricatives in Telugu, and you can see 66% of fricatives in English. That way, we can understand fricative character or quality is very dominant while people speak English, while native speakers speak English. But Indian languages are not rich in fricatives. So when they are very rich in plosives, so Indian languages are characterized by plosion. So plosion, you will see a plosive effect, as I mentioned earlier, katapata, chittapata, gadabada, gidabada. And when you take up fricatives, dear friends, that contributes a lot to languageness. Languageness matters a lot, as I always demonstrate in my presentations across India, and also participants of learners of English and researchers. I draw their attention on one important question. I present an expression in 2 different varieties. My brother from America. My brother is coming from America. When I ask the people to choose one out of their preference, they choose always, in Indian context, they choose the second one. My brother is coming from America. But when I ask them another question, if you have a child, if you want your child to speak English, which way? They immediately take U-turn and come to my brother from America. Why? The issue is languageness. My brother is coming from America, grammatically sound, but in terms of languageness, very, very poor. Languageness is the irreducible minimum while teaching, speaking, and listening and speaking. Languageness promotes intelligibility. Even though it is grammatically wrong, In terms of languageness, it is rich. That's why it is more optimal one. So here, let me tell you, while teaching, speaking, and learning and listening, while teaching, speaking, and listening, languageness is the top priority. Right, that is, non-negotiable. Speech quality, languageness are non-negotiables, but when it comes to grammaticality, it is negotiable in speaking. We do make mistakes in our mother tongue, grammatical mistakes. Yet we exercise grammatical tolerance and we have no issues. We try to negotiate with grammatical mistakes. Of course, when you go for reading and writing, which is a systematic activity in terms of cognitive mechanisms, I think that's where we need to promote grammatical structure and its accuracy. Right now, I'll just browse quickly on these issues and right. So when it comes to trills, in English we don't have trills, but when we take up Telugu, we have, for example, if we take up r is an approximant or continuant in English, but in Telugu we have it as tap, ra, 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 river. And when you take up the word river, we pronounce it this way: river, re, that is tap, r, that is trill. We have two ras in English. They don't normally, they drop ra, or if it all ra retains, that is as a tap, an approximant. They have approximant ra, but we have trill and tat ras. So difference, that is where we need to understand. Whenever we migrate to the English speaking, we carry these Telugu manners of articulation to the English language, and that affects the languageness of the English language, and that causes in turn unintelligibility. So, right now, let us come to the Telugu sounds, and when it comes to the manners of articulation, we have seen the difference. We have bilabials, we have labiodentals in Telugu, we have dentals, but when it comes to fricatives manners, we don't have fricative th and the, but English has got th and the. Th and the are plosives in Telugu language. Dear friends, what we need to understand here is this kind of expert's understanding needs to be paid attention while we try to teach the English language to the rural students of Andhra Pradesh. Not only that, even in the urban areas, most of the times, we see Telugu intervention while speaking the English language. Here, you may raise a question: sir, why should we speak like an American or British? Dear friends, if we are serious teachers of English or any language, if we are serious language teachers, we should have an expert's understanding. When you buy a car, you always look at it and you don't want to buy any defective car, vehicle. Why? You have a perfectionist view while you are paying. Our learners are paying us. They are paying us through their time and through their governments. And if you talk to the parents of the learners of English language in Andhra Pradesh, they need good English. They want their children to speak English, English in the sense, not the English which is defective, the English which is effective, which is intelligible, not only in the local regions, but also in the global regions. I always tell my always mention this to the teacher trainees at IFLO. The Indian English in the classroom. You and I are not needed. Indian English, see, of course, in terms of policy, our model is British variety for XY reasons. English offers clear speech. American variety has got a lot of problems with regard to nasality, rhoticity, tapping and flapping, and so many other. I have nearly 20 phonetic features that are hindrances hindrances to mutual intelligibility with reference to American English. But when it comes to British variety, for its historical reasons and geographically widespread, it is tested that British variety is the most intelligible variety. That's why I have written a research paper on apiciency. Apiciency is a tool for promoting mutual intelligibility. Apiciency is a copyrighted term. I have proposed this term, and apiciency is nothing but proficiency in RP is proved to be more intelligible in the global context. Let me tell you one important thing here. There are three domains where the Telugu learners of English need to use English. One, in the Telugu states, they can use the English language. Two, in the national context, I call it regional context. Speaking English to geographical region is called the regional domain. So the learners have regional purposes behind learning English. That is one. Two, when they go out of the states into the other parts of the country, they have to use the English language as a national variety. In Indian English, people call it Indian English, and but within India there are n number of or different varieties of English. If you go to Kashmir, the English spoken is different from the English spoken in Kerala, and similarly, the English spoken by Tamilians is different from the English spoken by Marathis. Right? So there are n number of varieties across India. So when when the learners go out of the state, they should speak the variety which can be intelligible in the national domain. So,
sorry, sir.
regional variety or regional purposes. So our learners have. Sorry.
If anything is left to show through the screen sharing, if it is not, you
I'm
can
concluding.
stop.
I'm
No,
concluding.
sir.
Yeah, I'm concluding.
For your full size image, you need to stop sharing. If you still want to show
Right.
something.
Perfectly all right. Perfectly all right.
Okay.
So I thought I would draw their attention to some of the templates later. No problem at all.
Okay, fine.
So that is what we need to understand when it comes to the purposes behind learning a language must be looked at uh, uh, according to the regional, national, and international purposes, right? So there are three levels of purpose: local or regional purpose, then national purpose, and then international purpose. Indian English, nobody taught me Indian English. Always my teacher has the British English as the model. When she teaches me some English, still her model or his model is the British variety. When she produces some materials for the learning and teaching, still the teacher has the British variety as a reference model. And right, so when the teacher tries to test my proficiency or progress in proficiency, she has the British variety as a reference model. So everywhere British variety and British variety and British variety, but the outcome is some local variety. That's what I say all the time. When we talk about Indian English, it is a mysterious variety. Our teachers follow British variety and teaches English, some local variety. So it is something like this. You sow a mango seed and reap grapes. That is mysterious. That is the mystery in the entire story. Dear friends, what we need to understand here is to teach the national and regional varieties of English, the teachers are not needed. It is automatic. It is automatic. You teach some English, they will learn whatever they learn. They approximate it to their mother tongue. They mix and match with their mother tongue aspects and then come up with a local variety. But we need to teach them the global variety. Our students are in a context where they have to live locally, but communicate both locally and globally. When the local variety is automatic, how to achieve the global variety? That is where I always come up with a proposition that we need to focus on global variety, and which promotes mutual intelligibility. And I will present a principle here and stop my presentation, and will be open for Q&A. So dear friends, while teaching, I always propose a principle. For speaking, have the British variety as a model. So train yourself in British variety, because the British variety is the most intelligible variety across the globe. Second, of course, yours are with local variety already. So they will have two varieties. When they speak to Indians, they approximate their accent to local variety. When British, they will approximate their accent to global variety, since they are trained in global variety. If they are not trained in global variety all the time, locally or globally, they use the same variety. That invites the intelligibility problems. So the principle here is, when you are training yourself in terms of pronunciation, production, follow the British variety. When you try to listen, when it comes to listening, get exposed to n number of variety, because whenever you go to a country, there is a local variety. So how to develop, develop a repertoire or cognitive abilities to approximate your listening to the local varieties of English. So this is the principle. For production, British variety. For perception, that way our learners will be more skillful, and definitely be successful across the globe while they use the English language. Dear friends, I welcome you all with your questions and thank you for giving me this opportunity. And over to uh, uh, Ismail Garu and uh, Srinivas Garu.